Most people think spiritual growth happens when you feel closer to God. Baal HaSulam says you're measuring the wrong thing entirely. In the early 1920s, Baal HaSulam, the great Kabbalist Yehuda Ashlag, sat in Jerusalem writing letters to his students. These weren't casual notes. They were surgical diagnoses of the human condition, delivered with the precision of someone who'd spent decades studying the hidden structure of reality. Letter 6 cuts to the heart of something almost nobody understands about the spiritual path. But before we get there, we need to rewind. His student came to him with a complaint that sounds modern even today. "My desire to connect with the upper world keeps disappearing," the student said. "One day I feel inspired, devoted, ready to transform myself. The next day, gone, flat, empty." The student was measuring his progress by his feelings, by the intensity of his yearning. Baal HaSulam listens. He understands the problem completely because it's the problem. Not the fluctuating feelings themselves, but the fact that the student is using feelings as a compass. That's the trap. Here's what he explains. The human ego, what we call in Kabbalah the desire to receive for oneself alone, doesn't disappear when you start studying spirituality. It transforms. It becomes spiritual ego . And spiritual ego is far more dangerous than ordinary ego because it's disguised as growth. When your feelings are high, when you feel connected, inspired, chosen, that's your spiritual ego feeding on the pleasure of thinking you're progressing. When your feelings crash and you feel abandoned and worthless, that's the same ego now feeding on despair and self-pity. Either way, you're measuring yourself. Either way, it's about you . Baal HaSulam makes a stunning point in this letter. True spiritual progress has almost nothing to do with how you feel . It has everything to do with whether you're moving toward love of others or away from it. That's the measure. Not your inner experiences, not your sense of connection. The direction of your heart toward your neighbor. Think about what that means. You could feel completely empty, completely abandoned by the divine, and yet be making genuine progress, if that emptiness is pushing you to care for others rather than collapse into self-concern. Conversely, you could feel ecstatic, flooded with light, and actually be regressing if that ecstasy is feeding your sense of being special, chosen, spiritually superior. This is radical, because it means the spiritual path isn't about collecting experiences. It isn't about achieving states of consciousness. It's about a single, unglamorous shift, learning to want for others what you want for yourself. Learning to measure yourself not by your inner glow, but by your actual capacity to serve. Baal HaSulam addresses his student directly at this point. He says something like, "Stop asking if you feel connected. Start asking, am I thinking about myself less today than yesterday? Am I more willing to give without receiving? That's your real thermometer." And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because if that's the measure, then most of what we call spiritual experience is actually ego and drag. The meditation that makes you feel peaceful could be spiritual ego unless it's making you kinder. The prayer that fills you with certainty could be delusion unless it's softening your heart toward those you normally dismiss. This is the pivot. This is where Baal HaSulam's letter 6 becomes dangerous to your comfortable spirituality. Because he's saying, stop trusting your inner experiences as evidence of progress. They're too easily corrupted. Instead, trust only one thing, the actual, measurable shift in how you relate to others. Now, this doesn't mean you abandon inner work. It means you reframe it. Meditation, study, prayer, these are tools for weakening the ego's grip, not ends in themselves. The real work is external. How you speak to someone who irritates you, whether you can genuinely rejoice in another's success, if you can give when it costs you something. The student's original complaint, "My inspiration keeps disappearing," suddenly looks different. It's not a problem. It's actually a gift. Because now the student can't rely on feeling good. Now he has to choose, moment by moment, whether he'll serve his own comfort or someone else's need. That's where real growth lies. not in the high, in the choice made when you feel nothing, not in the experience of connection, in the act of connection made when you're empty, tired, or convinced you'll get nothing back. Baal HaSulam closes by addressing something deeper. He suggests that the very instability the student complained about, the rising and falling of inspiration, is actually the Creator's design. It's meant to strip away our reliance on feeling and force us to build something more solid. Character, commitment, genuine love that isn't dependent on being fed. So the question isn't why did my connection disappear? The question is, what am I building in the spaces between the highs? Am I becoming more selfish or less, more closed or more open? That's the only progress that matters. This is what letter 6 really teaches. Not how to stay inspired, how to outgrow the need for inspiration, how to become someone who loves not because it feels good, but because love itself, a genuine, costly, unrewarded love, is the only real proof that you've changed. If you want to understand how the authentic Kabbalah actually works, how it separates real spiritual growth from ego's endless disguises, subscribe. There's a new letter, a new teaching, waiting each week. Subscribe, there's a new letter, a new teaching on authentic Kabbalah, waiting each week.